Okay, so when you start the journey, it doesn't matter if it's like some spiritual psychedelic journey. It doesn't matter if it's a healing journey. It doesn't matter if it's a physical health journey. It doesn't matter, like, whatever journey you're starting. Once you start, you can't really stop. Like, once you get on the train, you can't stop the train until you're at the next, train stop. So, like, it's that if you start the shamanic journey, you're gonna have to see it all the way through. Or if you start the healing journey, like trying to mentally heal yourself, then it's gonna be work. So, like, if someone starts the healing journey, maybe they started going to therapy. Maybe they started using psychedelics. Maybe they started doing meditation. Maybe they started seeing a life coach. Maybe they, I don't know, whatever you, like, maybe they just started looking in the mirror, started practicing different things to figure out who they are and to have more self awareness. And, but if you start that journey and you become self aware, you become aware that, oh, I'm depressed because of this and this, or I'm anxious because of this and this. Oh, I think this thought, that's what causes this feeling. I do this, that's why I feel like that. Like, if you just look at yourself and you're like, oh, my childhood was fucked up, and you start thinking about, well, why do you still think about your childhood and all this other shit? You're going to be stuck with all of your problems in front of you. But if you don't continue the journey, they're just going to sit there. It's almost like if you start the healing journey and you try to get off of it before it's done, it's almost like you can end up worse than you were before you started the journey. Because before you started the journey, you might have been anxious and depressed, but you didn't really think about it. But once you start the journey, you're like, oh, I'm anxious and depressed because of this and this, and maybe this and this causes you to feel even worse. This is why it's a journey that has to be worked through. You have to work through it. Getting mentally in shape and getting physically in shape are kind of the same type process. Getting spiritual, like, I think all of this thing is about becoming healthy, but healthy means more than one thing. Like, if you're mentally healthy, that doesn't mean that you're spiritually healthy. If you're spiritually healthy, that doesn't mean that you're physically healthy. Like, you see what I mean? That there's health is this broad thing where it's like you could be financially healthy, but that doesn't mean that you're physically healthy. You could be financially healthy, but that doesn't mean that you're mentally healthy. That doesn't mean that you have a healed mind and an in shape mind, so you no longer have mental health issues. Because mental health issues, in my personal opinion, come from a weak mind. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I mean is that if you, like, how do you get in physical shape? Like, if you're not in physical shape, it means that you have a weak body. Like, if you can't do push ups as a man, that means that you have a weak body. Like, but you can strengthen your body, which will then allow you to be able to do push ups. But it's deeper than doing the push ups, it's what being in shape does to you. Being in physical shape does something to your mind. At least when you don't use, like, steroids or things like that. Because if you end up using steroids to then get in physical shape, it's not gonna, you're not gonna have physical health, like you are, but you're not. Like, because you're always going to know that you took steroids, that's why you're in shape. So that's why when you got in, like, if you someone used steroids and they got in shape, they didn't heal their mind. But if you got in shape with no steroids, it will help you heal your mind. Like, there's something that happens to you when you know, like, you did the work, you have the results, and now it's like, oh, I did that. There's another thing that happens to you if you work out and you use steroids, or even people that use TRT. Like, I have nothing against any of that. It's just I can see that if I used those things, my mind wouldn't have healed along with my body. The reason why the body can heal the mind, like if you physically get in shape, your mind will start to get in shape as well. Because it took a mental strength to be able to keep working out. It took a mental strength to be able to do it without seeing the results. Because when you're working out without like TRT or steroids or any of that other shit, it takes a lot longer to then start seeing the results. So that whole time of me working out but not seeing results, it was building my mind to keep going on the journey. Because I already knew the spiritual journey. I already knew that the spiritual journey, I was saying I'm on the journey to become a modern day shaman like 6, 7 years ago. But everyone else was like, bro, I just sounded crazy to them. But if I say it now, after I've done the journey, they're like, oh yeah. Like it's not, if someone who's overweight tries to give physical health advice, we're all going to look at him like, yeah, yeah, okay, man. Because we look at it like, well, you don't really know what you're talking about because you didn't do it yourself. But if someone who's in shape then gives physical health advice, we take them more seriously. Because I've already gone down the spiritual journey, I get looked at more seriously for that. But I'm honest about how, like, I'm not in financial shape. I'm literally just starting my financial journey and trying to fix my finances and get healthy in that way. But if I was giving financial advice, obviously y'all would be like, bro, what the fuck? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, bro. You don't know anything about money. Like, because, and that's real. So I'm not in financial health, but I'm in physical health. I'm in mental health. I'm in spiritual health. Like I'm spiritually healthy, physically healthy, and mentally healthy. And because I've worked on these things, I went down the journey with each one of these things. But I've seen that the journey is like this thing that's like once you start, you can't really stop. I couldn't I couldn't even start my physical health until I was already on the spiritual journey. I was on the spiritual journey, meditating, learning that whole thing, learning how to control my mind. In the middle of that journey, I started my mental health journey, but I also started my physical health journey. But I couldn't focus fully on anything besides the spiritual journey. But the spiritual journey itself then turns into all these things because really, what is it? A journey to become the best version of you. So if you're mentally becoming the best version of you, you're going to get an idea once that's like, oh, I can physically become the best version of me as well. And then there's just these string of journeys that can happen. But once you start the journey, you're on the journey. Because if I started the spiritual journey and just left it in the middle, I was more depressed, I was more anxious, I had more problems until I had to face those problems. But it took 10 years to go down this whole thing and like just figure out myself, get myself in shape mentally, physically, and spiritually and emotionally. And now the last thing I need to do is financially. And it had me thinking about how people will work on their physical life and they'll get in financial shape and they almost think that's the point of life. Like people almost think the point of life is to make money, is to get enough money to travel the world, to buy cars and houses and this and that. People think that's the point. That's one piece to the puzzle, but in my humble opinion, I thought it was the least important out of the whole puzzle. So I saved it for last. A lot of people think it's the most important, so they do it first. But because I started my spiritual journey, I looked at it like, that shit's not gonna fucking matter. Like, yeah, it only matters here. But the emotional health, the spiritual health, the mental health, like, that can help my soul. Like, on a whole deep spiritual level. Like, there's this thing that I just had this certain perspective, and because of that, it I started my spiritual journey first. Because of that, I healed my mental health before I healed my financial health. But there is no right or wrong way. It's just about becoming self-aware and looking at yourself and seeing what do you need to work on. So I know what I need to work on now because it's all that's left. Right? Like all that's left is that because I made the sacrifice to do the spiritual thing first, to do the mental thing first, to do the emotional thing first. Like I learned how to speak emotions. Like emotions are like a language, and I worked on understanding that language. What I mean is that when I feel a feeling, I now understand what it means when I feel that feeling. That's what I mean by emotions are like a language. That, like, when you feel a feeling, like if I feel anxious and you feel anxious, we are anxious from two completely different things. So, me understanding my own emotions is not going to help you because I might understand why I'm anxious so then I can begin to work on that and heal that. But the reason why I feel that way is not the reason why you feel that way. That is why we individually need to begin to understand our emotions and understand that it's like a language trying to give us information. So if somebody's depressed, what does that mean? We think it's something that needs to be like, oh, yeah, I'll help you get rid of your depression. Like, the way that I've found to heal mental health is to understand our own feelings and what they mean when we feel it. So, when I felt depressed, there was a reason. And then I figured out that reason, and then I worked on it. Like, I started healing my mental health, I started healing my physical health, but I started healing my mental health and emotional health by understanding my own mind. People don't understand their own mind. So they don't understand why they feel the way they feel, or why they do what they do, or why they are what they are. Like, they don't understand because they don't understand the language. So because they don't understand the language, they don't, they just, they don't get it. They think that depression or anxiety or they think these things are bad. No, I mean, I guess maybe, like, because we do have bad words, right? Like, fuck, shit. Like, we say those are bad words. Um, so then we try to think there's bad emotions. And I guess you can kind of look at it like that if we're looking at it like a language, but it's about understanding ourselves and understanding the language. So because I had self awareness, I understood that I'm going to save the financial journey for last because to me it's the least important to me, like to me personally, because I understand me. What was more important to me was figuring out who I am. Like, I thought I was some thug dude, so I'm like, yeah, like I thought that was more important to get under control, to figure out who the fuck am I actually, to heal my mental health. I was self-harming, I was depressed, I was anxious, and I needed to understand why. Why am I self-harming? Why am I anxious? Why? In my opinion, that was more important than fixing my finances and getting my money right, right? Like, I was like, the money will always be there. That shit will always be there. But I knew I might not have always been here if I didn't fucking fix that problem. I was already self-harming. What the fuck do you think the next step was? Like, that's what I mean. In my personal opinion, it was more important to heal myself and then work on my physical life later. Like, because I looked at it like it wouldn't matter if I was rich as fuck. If I was depressed, I didn't understand myself, I lacked self-awareness, I was not in shape, I was disconnected from the people I love, or whatever, then the fucking finances wouldn't mean anything. Like, anything. So I saved it for last. And unconsciously, a lot of people are doing this, but because I live very consciously, I consciously make decisions on how I live and what I do. And it's been like this for like just about 10 years now, when I consciously decided to go on the spiritual journey, when I consciously decided to, just put that on hold, work on the philosopher thing, put the entrepreneurship on hold. Like, I started making conscious decisions based off of what I would think I would want. Like, when I die, what am I going to be proud of? I'm like, this is a personal thing though, because what I'm proud of might be like, if you did that shit, you'd be like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. But for me, I'm like, no, I'm glad I did it the way I did it. I'm glad, because I wouldn't have became the man I am today if I didn't live life the way I live. So I just know the money will always be there. I can start a business whenever. I know I can start taking money seriously whenever. I know I can start businesses and work a bunch of jobs and save up money from those jobs, and I could do that forever for the rest of my life. But there was only one chance to become me, to heal me, to fix me. And I thought that was more important, to fix my soul before I fixed my body. But then once I fixed my soul, I started working on my physical body and getting in physical shape. Now that I'm in physical shape, I'm going to be working on my physical life, getting my life in order, getting my finances in order, fixing this and that, fixing my bad habits with money, because I fixed my bad habits with my mind. So I know that I could do anything. I know because I healed my mental health, I'm able to do fucking anything. Because I think healing the mental health is the hardest thing to do on the planet. And because I did it, I'm like, well, the finance thing should be easy compared to healing my mental health. Like, it should be easy compared to getting in shape. It should be easy. So I was like, well, I'll just save that shit for last. But like, it's all a journey though. But because I saved it for last, it's like, I look at it like, okay, fixing my finances, I'm going to spend from 30 years old until 40 years old to work on that journey. Because I spent from 20 years old until about 29, 30 years old on the spiritual journey. And it took about 10 years. So I can imagine that maybe the financial thing won't take as long as like becoming spiritually healthy and mentally healthy and emotionally healthy, but I'm just going to look at it like I did every other journey and say this is a long journey and I'm in it for the long run. I'm in it for the long thing. I have long-term goals because I understand real life, that anything in life that you really want is actually going to take time to get that thing that you want. The reason why mental health is a problem today is because people think they're going to get a pill and it's going to fix their mental health issues. No. I don't give a fuck how many molecules you have flowing through you. That didn't fix your mental health issues because you're not mentally strong. Because a pill can't teach you why you feel the way you feel. A pill is not going to give you the understanding of how to understand your emotions. A pill's not going to teach you how to understand the language of emotions. You are going to have to work on that. And yeah, drugs can make you feel a little good while you're working on it, because sometimes it feels like shit to realize that you're the problem in your life. Sometimes it feels like shit when other people are a problem in your life, and it's like, well, maybe you gotta remove them from your life, or maybe you gotta. And sometimes that all feels like shit, and yeah, we want to feel a little better, but it's actually a good thing to feel like shit sometimes, because feeling like shit sometimes is good, because if you can understand why do you feel like shit sometimes, like it's about understanding your emotions, and it's about understanding yourself. So like whatever journey you're on, whatever you're doing, it's not about what others are doing. It's about what do you want to do? Like, who are you? Type shit. Like, some people are just entrepreneurs. So then they focused on money first. That's who they actually are. And just because I'm some spiritual dude doesn't mean they need to be some spiritual dude. Like, I'm me and they're them. They chose their thing and I chose my thing. But, like, regardless, it's a journey. I don't care who the fuck you are. If you say, hey, I want to start a business, It's a fucking journey, bro. A journey. You're going to be on a long journey. And if you don't understand that, then you're probably going to hop off the journey once something goes wrong. You're probably going to think, oh, this isn't going to work, so I'm not going to do it. Things are supposed to go wrong while you're on the journey. That's also part of the journey. Your thing on the journey should be just to overcome those obstacles and continue moving forward, because that's how you finish the journey. The only reason I was able to say I healed my mental health is because I went through it. I went through the pain of screaming and crying and being alone and hating life and cutting myself and being depressed and being anxious and like all this shit. I already went through that. And I figured out why I feel the way I feel, why I was doing what I was doing, because I I put in the work to understand myself. And that was really hard. And it took a long time. But I did it. So now I'm able to go to the next journey, and then the next journey, and then the next journey. Like I just keep doing this shit until I die. So yeah, I think that's what we should do. Because just because you got financially right, are you physically in shape? Are you mentally in shape? Like you always got work to do is what I'm saying. We always got work to do. Whether even it doesn't matter if you're rich as fuck, doesn't matter if you're mentally healed, doesn't matter if you're spiritual, whatever. If you're a spiritual teacher or a spiritual leader, you mean to tell me you have nothing to work on? Like, nothing? We all have something to work on. We can all start a journey, whether it's a financial journey, a mental health journey, an emotional journey, a journey with fixing our connections with our loved ones. A journey, like, it's all there. Life itself is one giant journey, and there's a bunch of mini journeys inside of this giant journey. But yeah, it's just one giant journey.